We're going to hear from Johnson Chng. He is going to give us his view on innovation and success. Johnson is the managing partner of AT Kearney Greater China, based in Shanghai. He has spent more than 20 years consulting in all subsegments within the financial services industry. So, Johnson, let me welcome you to give the next set of comments.
Thank you, Linda. I have way too many slides for a 10-minute speech, and I notice your emphasis on 10 minutes, so I'll try to keep to that. All right, ladies and gentlemen, very happy to be here, and likewise, I'd like to express my appreciation to LBS and the China Business Forum for inviting me here. It's a big topic, and I'll share with you some of the key findings, primarily coming out from our annual innovation research. Some of them will be quite interesting, hopefully. Basically, there are 4 types, and the front slides I'll run through quickly, although I can speak in both languages, but I thought since I'm in London and my main audience should be, sharing with the Western audience in terms of what kind of innovation or creativity is going on in China. So therefore, my apology to our Chinese audience. You have to use the ear set. And the front pages I'll go through quickly. Innovation is a broad definition, and you'll see later, depending on how broad or how narrow or how tight do we define innovation, we may say, just now Rong Zhong, before break, also talked about whether or not China is at a stage of doing the innovation like we're seeing in the developed economy. So in a very narrow definition, we are not there. But if you kind of broaden that, there's some interesting coming up from China, and I'll share some of those examples later. But generally, we can innovate on products, so iPhone, as we all know, or process, or service, and some of them business models. So eBay, in order to kind of spice up the activity on the site, so they actually come up with this idea of reverse auction. So instead of buyers bidding up the price of a product, seller is trying to entice the buyer bidding against other sellers. So depending on how, and we see different types of innovation across generally these 4 categories. But in any categories, generally, innovation need to be supported with some form of technology enhancement. This slide, I think, is important. The reason why Rong Zhong and I share the view that why China, we are not at a stage of innovation like the West, partly because of the stage of development, partly also because of the lack of investment. Wang Shu also showed, the amount of R&D budget vis-a-vis some other economies. But more importantly, if you understand China, given at least in the past 5, 10, 15 years, with a 10, 12% GDP, it is not difficult to make money in China. I'm a financial services guy. For banks, it requires skills to not make money, not the other way around. It's actually the other way around. You just don't screw up. You make money. It's a question of how much you make, right? So when you're operating in such an environment, there is little motivation to take risk, right? As we all know, innovation is. In my previous firm, we have a product called Innovation to Cash. Like what Nick just mentioned, Kodak had innovation, Nokia had innovation, but they lacked the process to link innovation, innovative ideas to a commercial successful outcome. So that requires something in between. And that something in between takes time and requires investment. So the chart here, you see that there's a time to market, but more importantly, there's a time to profit, right? Recently in China, there's this new trend where just now, Rong Zhong also talked about their company is now one of the China Fortune 500. If you look at the global Fortune 500, not surprisingly, you find a long list of Chinese companies. But again, if you look closer, while they make it to the global Fortune 500, majority of their revenue will still come from China. So most of the Chinese global 500 companies, they achieve the scale effect, but they have not achieved the global effect. And recently, there's this huge trend of this Chinese Global 500 trying to understand, how to become from big to, from big to great, right? So in Chinese, we always say 做大做强. So far we have 做大, becoming big, but we have not become strong, so to speak. And in that process, GE always come up as a benchmark target, right? Because despite the recent headwinds, GE is still generally deemed as a great company globally, spanning across different sectors, is a globalized companies with leading products. And when we look into GE, why GE is GE today, I mean, up to the recent crisis at least, is their ability and the discipline to invest into the future, right? So when we look into GE has this motto where the R&D, the motto or the vision of the R&D department is to look into the future and not look into what can we do better with what we're doing now, but what are the different things, or what are the new things we can do in the future, and follow with execution, which is their famous Lean Six Sigma. And being one of in every market that they are operating in, they have to be either number 1, number 2, or worst case number 3. And if not, they will sell, right? They have the discipline to divest, however profitable, but if not in a leadership position, they will sell. So therefore, for any companies or any sector to be in that category, generally, this is the process, but most importantly, we must have the appetite and resources to be able to invest through the cycle. And that is the challenge for a lot of companies, but in particular Chinese companies, given what I just mentioned. We did not have that kind of environment that create that kind of burning platform or the need to invest in that manner. But generally, we see that, again, people like to use iPhone, and I have some examples at the back. But generally, and Nick mentioned part of that earlier, in order for a company to be innovative, it is a strategy. I mean, I may be kind of, I'm biased to my own belief. As management consultant, we believe a lot in strategy. But again, strategy has to be part of, innovation has to be part of that strategy, right? So if it's a one-off exercise, with luck, you may strike it correct, but generally it's not a sustainable process. Value proposition, and I have 2 examples at the back. Hopefully it's an interesting example for allowing you to see how China is evolving in an innovation so-called path and boundaries, right? So, but again, you need a process so that you can start with innovation and leading to a commercial success, what I call innovation to cash. And obviously, most of the time is we need technology. I'll go through quickly all this because I think the example at the back from China will be more interesting to most of the audience here. So again, there are 4 factors we believe, and there are some examples here. So, having a strategy that includes and specifically includes innovation as part of that process is important. I won't talk about Apple because we all know. The other thing is Google, as we all know, that they allow employees 20% of their time to do something outside their official role, to do anything that interests them, right? So again, having that process that enable your workforce to be innovative. Customer-centric, so this can be more in the category of creative rather than innovative. But again, depending on how broad or how narrow we define that. So, the consumer goods company or sector tend to be better at that. So if any one of you has worked in a consumer goods company like P&G or Unilever, the core of their belief is segmentation. I.e., if you can segment another level or, to the next level, the belief is that they can generate more insights that would then lead to product design, delivery model, and service model. But it's all around what can our customer want, what do our customer want, how can we influence customers' behavior. For most of you, even from those folks in China, these days we take credit cards as a given, something that we use on a daily basis. I first stepped into China in 1994. In 1995, back then we thought we were thought leaders. One of the projects I worked with one of the big 4 banks was credit card strategy. It was, as you can imagine, 1995. If any one of you were in China, trying to introduce credit cards in China in 1995 was a total disaster because if you've been to China in the mid-90s, people have the habit of a clutch bag, even for men. which coming from Singapore, it was an uncomfortable sight for me because, you know, why do we need a clutch bag? Because it's all the 100 RMBs in the clutch bag, right? But it was a difficult sight for me. Mentally, I couldn't get my head around it. And we were trying to tell the banks, you know, you should, there's a big future for credit card, da, da, da. We were way too ahead of the curve at that time. But again, you know, the consumer goods company, in terms of their innovation process, is one of the things is, you know, what are the things we can influence the customer needs? I'm you know, mindful of time. That's why I'm going a little bit fast, because I think the example at the back is more interesting. Dedication. So, you know, just having a department to lead innovation won't suffice. So, you know, the tone from the top, the involvement. Again, Apple is a good example, but it's not just that. So how do you make sure that all the critical departments, all the critical process has a skin in the innovation process of your company, all right? So rather than, okay, I have a lab of scientists or R&D people to think of the next great idea. You would have innovation, but it does not lead to cash because you don't have that process that turn innovation into cash. Right, so, and then having some metrics to measure that is important, obviously. Again, my apology for rushing. And I hope this data will be interesting to you. So it's increasing fast, but it's incremental and not disruptive, so we don't have an iPhone coming out from China, although in China there's a brand called 金苹果, golden apple phone. And it's just like an iPhone, painted in gold color. All right, so again, like Wang Shi, you know, we for some products, we're at the stage of the 70s and 80s of Japanese car, where, you know, basically they just copy the American cars in a cheaper manner. But what is interesting, however, I thought, is the speed in which the patent, you know, just now Rong Zhong also talked about, was it every month they have something being patented? So if you look at the sheer speed of the number of patents, for what is worth, at least is registered in China, it's pretty amazing. It's at 30% CAGR. And if you look at some of in the recent report by Forbes, there's a number of good, although I thought was interesting is Mao Tai and Wu Liangye, which is the famous or infamous China white spirit alcohol. If you go to China and you try to do business, you got to drum up your alcohol appetite. Okay, right. Linda is waving. So, but give me 5 minutes. I think these two examples tells you a lot about.
No, 5 minutes. I'm sorry.
3 minutes.
No, literally 20 seconds.
Okay, 20 seconds.
Panel, I'm so sorry.
Okay, so this one is Hai Di Lao. Is a hot pot. Why is it innovative? Because hot pot is a very basic stuff in China. But again, what they have done is empowering the employees to serve the customer well. So what they have done is through care and through a lot of empowerment, and even, you know, simple things like, you know, when you're in a hot pot, you know, you tend to spill over a lot of stuff, so they have plastic bags. So again, it shows up in the actual outcome. Just 20 more. This one is good.
Okay, Johnson, I'm actually going to step in because we can talk about it.
Okay, sure. I'll leave this here in case, I just thought this is interesting for you guys, but my apology for my time.